One way to display block-level elements such as divs and asides side-by-side was to use display flex. This time, we will learn how to use the float property to display the living room and kitchen side-by-side as a way to use it in slightly older browsers. To apply it, add the float property and its value, left and right, to the element you want to align horizontally. After entering the float and its value, enter the height of each element. Here, the height of the parent element wrapper is 200 px, so enter 230 px as a test. Then, the main and aside will have a height of 230 px and will be 30 px inside the footer. This is because elements with the float property move while floating. In this case, the main and aside with the float property added floated and lined up in 2 horizontal rows. On the other hand, the footer without the float property is positioned lower than the main and aside, so it looks like a screen. In Photoshop or CAD, it's like the upper layer makes the lower layer invisible. To solve this, add a clear property and its value both to the footer. As a result, the vertical relationship with main and aside to which float was applied just before can be cancelled. Then remove the wrapper height. The height is determined by the height 230 of main and aside, so there is no change in the preview. From this state, I would like to apply margin top to the footer and place the footer at the bottom of the screen. But the preview doesn't change. This is because margin top does not work on elements with a clear property. To solve this, we need to add an element separate from the footer that gives the clear property. The place to add it is directly under the floated main and aside. This time, I have an empty div element called div class equals clear/div. Add the clear property to this empty div element and make it responsible for cancelling the vertical positional relationship due to float. Checking the preview, margin top is now effective in the footer without the clear property. Finally, a summary. Elements with the float property added move while floating to achieve a side-by-side design. Use the clear property to clear the vertical relationship between the element to which the float property is applied and the subsequent elements. Margin top will not work on elements with a clear property applied. This time, I put an empty div element in front of the footer I want to move, and applied the clear property to this element to make the footer margin top effective. The above is an explanation of the design in which the living room and kitchen are placed side by side using the float and clear properties. Thank you for watching until the end.